Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Sunday Morning Glory Playoff Preview, and I'm your host, Doug Dimmadome. With that being said, let's get it poppin', y'all. Alright, league decision confirmed. Phil Vancherry will be making the playoffs over Mike Goderici's squad. It's a tough decision. It's a fair decision. Sorry, Mike. You're out. Furthermore, we have 4 teams eliminated from the playoffs now. We got Team PA High Boost. That's Keith Green with a 5-8 record. It's a good try, Keith. Your draft was a rough one. Some of your players came through. Melvin Gordon, Amari Cooper, T.Y. Hilton. You still held on to Roberto Aguayo all season, and we don't know why. He might have been your downfall. Mike Goderici is good team on paper. I was excited to watch him face off against Team Cooper. It's a shame. I actually pegged that as a pretty close matchup. Mike's team on paper, I would say, had the best running back core in the league. LaShawn McCoy, Carlos Hyde, and Thomas Rawls came back. Just had a great game. It's a shame he's not going to be in the playoffs. It's something we know for next year. It's a good change we can get in our rules. No divisions. The best teams get in. He was just on the wrong side of things on this, But it's a fair call on the Commissioner Sean Costello's part. Moving on. Mark and Tracy Costello drafting Matt Ryan, or maybe claim Matt Ryan. Had a great season. The rest of the team, Jordan Reed had a good year, tight end, injury issues. AJ Green had a good year, injury issues. It just on paper it wasn't a team that could get the distance. They couldn't make it into the playoffs for the second year in a row. Mark and Tracy, it might be time to call it quits in Sunday Morning Glory. We have Brandon Lapham missed the playoffs. It's a shame. He's got top kicker in the league and Justin Tucker. Overall, he had a solid team. A lot of guys. Todd Gurley, Kelvin Benjamin. Doug Martin had injuries. A lot of guys who just really didn't play to their full potential this season. And it showed. It hurt Brandon in the long run. So, these teams are out. They have no chance, no money, no nothing, says Doug Dimmadome. Well, now we got what you guys have all came here to listen to. We have the playoff matchups. The official Sunday Morning Glory playoff matchups are set. We have Team Vancherry facing off against Team Cooper. We have Dix out for Harambe, managed by Shane Farrell, against Team Sehota, CJ Boyer. We have Matthew Bentz, a team has no name, facing off against Team Johnny fucking Bananas in Zach Arce. And the ever so heated 5 seed versus 4 seed matchup. That's your whole thing, Kevin Bentz, versus Tupac conversion, Sean Costello. Battle of the Rapper lingo names there. We got Schoolboy Q is based off that team, and then Tupac, enough said. That's a battle of a 7-6 records, and that's gonna be a heated one. But we're gonna dig into that one here real quick. Let's preview That's Your Whole Thing's team. Ben Roethlisberger, had injuries. Ezekiel Elliott, top running back in the league. Kevin's team on paper in the beginning of the year, he had injury issues. Danny Woodhead definitely hurt his cases going into the end of this season. He definitely started falling off in the standings. Had a loss here, win here, and two losses here. And he's not going into the playoffs where he wants to be. He faces off against Sean Costello, who is actually kind of the opposite of how Kevin started. Sean's team, Tupac conversion, they started off horrible. There was a point where, you could almost think like, oh, okay, is it time to give it up? Sean hung in there. He's got the number 4 seed now. Faces off against Kevin here. Overall, a solid team. Led by Andrew Luck, Antonio Brown, LeGarrette Blount, Latavius Murray. It's a solid team. It's a balanced team, and it's gonna be a good matchup here. And you take a look at the quarterback situation. You got Ben Roethlisberger versus Andrew Luck. It's a tight one. They're both gonna put up numbers. If you had to say, you look at things, Kevin's running backs, will Dion Lewis take carries away from Sean's LeGarrette Blount? It's a tough matchup. It's a close matchup. There's a lot of factors into this one. Sean has the way better wide receivers. Kevin's in a very tough wide receiver situation where he has Allen Robinson and Jarvis Landry just not performing up to expectations. Sean, Dez Bryant, Antonio Brown, Stephon Diggs, like much of the same, but Antonio Brown will be the game changer. Tight end situation. Ebron, he's had his injury issues. Tyler Eifert has his injuries issues. The flex spot, it's really just a solid on paper. The projections are very close. ESPN has That's Your Whole Thing at 108 projected total to Sean Costello's Tupac conversion at 111 points total. Previous matchups, Tupac conversion beat Kevin in week 12. Kevin beat Sean's team in week 6. And it's a close matchup. Gonna have to side with Sean Costello's Tupac conversion with the win here. It's not an easy call. Vegas odds have Sean at a -120. And it's a close call. It could very well be even, and that's the playoffs. All 8 teams, they all have a chance. It's anyone's ball game. Moving on, we have the 6 seed, A Team Has No Name, led by Matthew Bentz, versus Team Bananas, Zach Arce. The big thing here is you have 2 teams who played each other once in the 13-week season. And in that one game, they tied. They tied in the matchup. And, you know, it came down to bench points. Matthew Bench's squad came out victorious through bench points. But, I mean, it was a game. 1 point could have decided the matchup. And much of the same here in the fantasy football playoffs. You got two good teams. Just pulling up the rosters here for both. Matt's team here, you know, Jameis Winston, Carson Palmer, who does he go with? Both guys, you know, they're not. Are they fantasy football league champion winners? You got Jameis Winston, Carson Palmer. Like, who do you choose in this situation? You got David Johnson, running back. Best running back in the league. I'm sure Matt is very, very happy to have him on his side. And then going down, you know, his receiving core, it's just a balanced overall core. And, you know, he's got depth bench options. You look at Zach's lineup, who many believed was one of the strongest lineups going into the season, is easily one of the strongest lineups still. Aaron Rodgers, Mark Ingram, Matt Forte, Odell Beckham Jr., Larry Fitzgerald, Delaney Walker, Dan Bailey. It's just all these guys. They're easily top 15 players in their position, and to have that kind of depth is what will take Zach over the edge. It will bring him far in these playoffs. Vegas odds has Team Bananas at a minus 135. It's a fairly stronger odds. You know, a team has no name is definitely an underdog in this situation, going into the playoffs with a 6-7 record. You know, nothing over the top, doesn't really glare at you. The kicker here, you know, they both tied early in the year, or when they played each other a few weeks ago. The kicker and the glimmer of hope for Matt would be the lack of points against for Zach this season, which managed to be a 1,372 points against. This is just about the lowest in the league. So Zach has had some scheduling, you know, favoritism. The schedule has definitely played in Zach's favor. However, Zach comes in at 1,558 points for, which, besides Dale's Team Cooper, comes in second in the league. So Zach has the firepower as well. Moving on, we have Dick's out for Harambe. Shane Farrell, 6-7 record versus Team Sejota, 10-3 record. I'll be honest, wasn't a fan of CJ's team at the draft. Still not a fan of CJ's team on paper. You know, he's a three-headed monster. It comes down to DeMarco Murray, Mike Evans, and, you know, Travis Kelce has been a very, very good performer. You know, he had an Adrian Peterson injury earlier in the year. These two have played each other once. CJ Boyer, Team Sejota, beat Shane 124-115 all the way back in week 1. So this is a matchup from week 1 and now playing in week 14 in the playoffs. It's going to be a close one. Shane's been on a bad streak. He's got 2 losses in a row. CJ, the opposite. He's going in on a 3-game win streak. It's tough. Shane has Tom Brady, hasn't really, been performing okay. He was injured, or he was suspended, earlier in the season. Lamar Miller, Frank Gore, two depth guys. Lamar Miller had a very disappointing season. Brandon Marshall, very disappointing season. Greg Olson's been rocky over the last few weeks. It's a team that really hasn't performed to expectations versus a team who has performed above expectations. Russell Wilson has a tough year. DeMarco Murray, no one predicted him to put out the output he has. Theo Riddick, a good PPR running back. Mike Evans, arguably the top wide receiver in the league. A lot of guys who have just performed really well for CJ. And for that, we're gonna give this matchup to Shane Farrell's Dicks Out for Harambe. It's a close one. I'd say, I checked earlier. We have Vegas odds listed at even. I know that's cliche. Both teams are so close, but this is an even matchup. And I don't know if that fares well for CJ being the second seed and having an even matchup against Shane. CJ has the running back advantage. I would say the wide receiver advantage is, could go either way. It's going to be a good matchup. All these matchups are going to be great when you look at them on paper. It really comes down to how Sunday's going to be. Before we get to the last preview here, I'm sorry to make you wait on the last one, but we have a quick interview with a local Bucks County-based legend. We have Rocco DeSangro in our very office here, ready to put his final thoughts on the playoffs, tell us how he's doing. He's in Alabama right now, doing his thing, following his dreams. He's covering high school, Friday Night Lights, Saturday collegiate football games, and he's doing it. He's doing his thing, doing it big. We're just gonna take a time here to get Rocco's opinion on just how well he expects these playoffs to go. Let's get him in here. Rocco?
Originally hailing from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, doing his thing, killing it. Rocco, how you doing today?
Doug, it's great to be here. Glad you're having me on the show.
Rocco, the pleasure's mine, man. It's great to have you. Great to see you had the time to give a call to the show. We really wanted your opinion on this Sunday morning glory playoffs. So how's Alabama going?
Alabama's going great. It's pretty hot down here, but they love their football. It's like a religion. It's like Eagles fans. Eagles fans are so passionate about their teams. Alabama and Auburn fans, they're nuts. You're either an Alabama, you're an Auburn fan, or you're not anything at all. So they really love their football down here. It's something like I've never seen before, but I'm loving it.
That's great. Sounds like the ideal place for someone of your nature to be. All right. Anyway, I wanted your opinion. I know you've been following the league, the Sunday Morning Glory regular season in the league itself, but we have our playoff matchups set. Brandon Lapham, Tracy, Mark Costello, all of them, they failed to make it. Keith Green didn't make it, and unfortunately Mike Godarici's team just missed out. But anyway, the playoffs, as I was saying. First off, we have Team Vancherry versus Team Cooper. Cooper's going into this as the number 1 seed. He had a 10-3 record. Phil Vancherry is into the playoffs with a 5-8 record. What's your insight on that?
First of all, Doug, just to the people that didn't make the playoffs, there's no losers in this league except for Mike Ottarici. That kid's a loser every single year, so I just don't know how he continues not to make the playoffs again and again. But so Mike, you're a loser, Mike. Get better at fantasy football. The matchup between Phil and
Oh,
Dale,
shots fired, Rocco. Shots
fired right there. That's just how it is between me and Mike. Between Phil and Dale, I think Dale has this matchup with a 10-3 record. His team's one of the best teams in this league overall, so I'm going to give the first round matchup to Dale.
Yeah, I mean, Dale has Le'Veon Bell, Drew Brees. He's got some good players. He's actually going into the playoffs with a 7-game win streak. That is impressive.
That is very impressive.
Furthermore, we have the second matchup. That's Shane Farrell's Dicks out for Harambe with a 6-7 record going into the playoffs with a losing streak of 2 versus Team Sehota, which is CJ Boyer's squad. That is a 10-3 team. He's going in with a win streak of 3. And CJ's players, he's got DeMarco Murray, Mike Evans. I really feel like CJ will go as far as those 2 players take him.
Well, Doug, it's a very enticing matchup. Both great names, but I think I have to give the edge here to Harambe, to Shane Farrell. He's got the name. It could be the year of the Harambe. I think the team's going to carry Shane as far as that name carries him. So we'll see there.
That's a great input. Names definitely go a long way in fantasy football, and if he doesn't win, he at least has the name title. Well, Rocco, this takes us to the third matchup. We have Matt Bentz's A Team Has No Name, little Game of Thrones reference in there, versus Zach Arcee's Team Bananas. Zach Arcee is a notorious Johnny Bananas fan from MTV's The Challenge, so of course his name follows suit. Matt's team has a 6-7 record. Zach's team's 8-5. Definitely a clear underdog in this one. What are your thoughts?
Well, just 2 good friends going up against each other. Another great playoff matchup here. Zach, I just don't know with Team Bananas. Johnny Bananas, you just think of a scumbag, a guy that's going to stab you in the back. He would stab Matt in the back if he had it in this fantasy football matchup. So, I think just based off that, I have to give the edge to Matt.
Rocco, I couldn't agree more. It's you're really going by names on this one. It's understandable. It's totally cool. But yeah, I respect your input. I'm sure Matt respects your input as well. And lastly, we have it's always a tough one when you have the 4th and 5th seed, but we have Kevin Bentz's That's Your Whole Thing versus Sean Costello's Tupac Conversion. Keep in mind, Sean is going into the playoffs with a 5-game win streak. At one point, he was in the bottom of the basement in the league. What are your thoughts?
I think that Sean could take his team very far here. He's the only remaining Costello. Obviously, Phil being part of the family, but not with that Costello last name. I think Sean has to carry this family. Unfortunately, Tracy and Mark out of the playoffs, but Sean, I feel like his team has what it takes to go very far in the playoffs here.
Very well said. And Rocco, just to wrap things up here, man, I want your final say. Who's going to come up on top in Sunday morning glory?
Oh, that's a tough one. I really think that Dale's team, he's a 1 seed for a reason. His team's hot right now. He's got the players to get him to the finals. So I think I'm going to give the edge to Dale. I think he has what it takes to win this league. Hey,
I mean, I personally couldn't agree more. He's got the Vegas odds on his side. He's got the top team in the league. Good players to boot. He's definitely going into the playoffs with something to prove. Rocco, thank you so much for joining us today, and we are grateful, and we hope everything is going well for you over in Alabama.
Doug, I really appreciate your time. Best of luck to everyone in the playoffs going forward, and best of luck to this league.
Thank you, Rocco.
And there you have it. Rocco DeSangro doing his thing out in Alabama. It's good to get his input. Great input. He really broke it down. So he's got Dale Cooper, Team Cooper, going all the way. It's a good prediction. Will it happen? You never know in fantasy football. Sunday Morning Glory, you never know. You just never know. Carrying on, that's about it for week 1. You got Sunday. Sunday's where it all goes down. Be sure to check in. It should be a good one. And appreciate your time, everyone. That's it for Sunday Morning Glory's week 1 of the playoffs. Catch us next time in week 2. And by then, there's 4 teams left, folks. Grand prize, hefty dollars to be had. Well, that's it, everyone, from Sunday Morning Glory. This is Doug Dimmadome. Have a good one, y'all.